going on, guys? Sam Adams here, and welcome to On the Topic Of. And this week, the topic is E3 2016, specifically Nintendo's new plans that they announced earlier this week. Now, for those of you that don't know, the Electronic Entertainment Expo is pretty much Christmas in June for many gamers, where pretty much every new video game that's coming out over the course of the next year that is significant is going to be discussed, is going to be shown off, and pretty much it gives developers and publishers a chance to show off what the next year has planned for their company. Now, for those that are interested in the world of Nintendo, this was going to be a very interesting E3 because the only announced game that was going to be on the show floor is The Legend of Zelda for Wii U, which of course is a highly anticipated title. However, it's also coming out on Nintendo's next console, the NX, which doesn't have an official title yet. But that's not even going to be shown. The next generation version of The Legend of Zelda isn't going to be on the show floor whatsoever. They were only going to be showing the Wii U version of the game and not talking about much else. However, Nintendo has announced that they're going to be talking about more than just that game. However, their console, the NX, is still not going to be available on the show floor or shown off in any live streams. There is still not going to be any talk of that. However, we are getting a couple of more glimpses at some of the other kinds of offerings that Nintendo is going to have over the course of the next year. Now, pretty much all of this information was released in their live stream announcements, which came out earlier this week, and pretty much give an outline of what you can expect to see on Twitch.tv over the course of June 14th and June 15th, which is a Tuesday and a Wednesday, and they are going to have some pretty substantial live streaming offerings. So we'll go ahead and start off with Tuesday's plans. Pretty much starting at 9 a.m. Pacific time, which is 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for those in the United States, Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon gameplay will be shown off, closely followed by the world's first in-depth look at The Legend of Zelda Wii U. So that is going to be a significant day for Nintendo fans on Twitch.tv. Now, the rest of the day is going to feature gameplay from presumably The Legend of Zelda, accompanied by interviews with experts from the Nintendo Treehouse. And of course, none of this is going to be scripted. This is all going to be stuff that's just shown off on the stage. Pretty much they're going to have a time slot where it says you're going to be talking about offering A, and then they're going to have some experts on stage just kind of, chewing the fat and whatnot, talking about the new game that is coming out, which seems to be a pretty interesting way to do things. Personally, whenever it comes to E3, I like to watch scripted shows because then there aren't that many blunders, or at least it minimalizes the amount of mistakes that people can make, and we can maximize the amount of information that is being at least given to the public. However, that being said, whenever you put a whole bunch of gaming nerds and gaming professionals out there on the stage to talk about a new game, there are going to be awkward situations that are going to be absolutely hilarious, and I can't wait to see all of these new clips that are going to be made on Twitch.tv of just awkward silence between people talking about The Legend of Zelda or Pokemon Sun and Moon. That's going to be absolutely hilarious. Now, the second day, Wednesday, June 15th, is going to have a little bit more variation. However, at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time, which is 1 hour later than Tuesday's live stream beginning, we are going to be seeing a Pokemon Go developer Q&A, which is going to be very informative because this is an interesting app that I'm interested in learning more about. Pretty much it's coming out for Android and iPhones, and it's pretty much where you can catch Pokemon in real-life locations. You go around the real world, and you collect different Pokemon that might pop up in different locations around your city, and you can, of course, battle them online. You have a personalized trainer and whatnot within the app. It's a very interesting take on Pokemon, and it's definitely a creative way to get into that Android and iPhone market, and it'll be interesting to see what the developers have to say about that. Now, following that is going to be a display of various other games like Monster Hunter Generations, Dragon Quest VII Fragments of the Forgotten Past, and Tokyo Mirage Sessions #FE. I don't know what any of those games really are. However, what I do know is that they are taking some time to focus on some of the games that might not necessarily get the majority of the spotlight, like their Legend of Zeldas or their Pokemon. They're still taking the time to cater to those hardcore Nintendo fans that are going to be picking up these titles, and I feel like that's a pretty good addition to the live stream overall. Now, overall, I do find this kind of E3 plan admirable, and it does reflect what Nintendo is overall as a company, because instead of pretty much throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, so to speak, it's throwing just a ton of games at gamers and seeing what people actually like. They're focusing on what their strengths are and what they know their strengths are. You have The Legend of Zelda, you have Pokemon. Those are the two main things that are going to be shown off, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a new Mario game or something thrown in there that hasn't been announced yet. That would be a very interesting kind of turn of events. However, like I said, they are focusing on their strengths, but they are also taking time to mention those smaller games that might be a little bit less popular in the grand scheme of the gaming industry, but still very popular in the hardcore Nintendo industry, and that's a pretty good balance to have in your E3 conference or your E3 presence overall, since there isn't technically a Nintendo conference. Now, Nintendo's E3 2016 plans prove two different points for me. The first is that E3 itself is changing, because before, it was a very pivotal point in the gaming industry where these companies got out here and they showed off every game that they had over the course of the next next year, and pretty much it was their only chance to prove to gamers worldwide that they had something to offer and that they had a reason to purchase their console. And nowadays, Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, any kind of game developer, any publisher, whatever it may be, can do a live stream, can upload a YouTube series, can do a lot of publicity online on Twitter, Facebook, etc., Reddit even, and you can get a game's hype flowing without the need for this giant conference, and I feel like that's very evident in Nintendo's E3 plans. Now, the second point that's made evident here is that Nintendo is trying to regain their balance and kind of regain their momentum that has been lost since the launch of the Wii U, which was a less than successful kind of console. It definitely has a niche audience. There are fans out there that love the Wii U and will support it to its death, but it's quite frankly, it just hasn't been a success financially. And so, with that being taken into consideration, and with the passing of Iwata and the kind of reshaping with the company overall, I feel like their vision is kind of changing, because for many years, people were wanting the Wii to compete with the PlayStation and the Xbox, but that's simply not what it is. If people want to play Call of Duty or Battlefield, they're going to go to Xbox, PlayStation, or PC simply because of that name association and the association of playing Battlefield on PlayStation, Call of Duty on PlayStation, Halo on Xbox, etc. You can't really compete with that kind of brand association. However, Nintendo has a lot of franchises the Xbox and PlayStation simply don't have. You have Star Fox, you have Mario, you have Metroid, you have all these different things that are out there that only Nintendo can do. Mario Kart, Super Smash Bros. You have all these things you can focus on, and I believe that Nintendo knows that, and I think that's where they're going to be going with the NX going forward, and it's simply what we are seeing with their E3 2016 plans. So overall, I feel like Nintendo's presence at E3 2016 is at least a little bit more filled out. It's not quite where I would like it to be, but what can I do? I would like to see some NX gameplay. I would like to kind of get a larger timeline of where Nintendo is going to be going over the course of the next several years at least, just to kind of see what kind of investment I would be getting into if I did choose to purchase Nintendo's next console or their next handheld, whatever it may be. However, that's not what we're getting. It's just nice to see a couple of more games at least being talked about on the show floor, rather than just one game that's on the last generation quote-unquote console. So there you guys have it. I'll be covering E3 2016 a good bit over the course of the next couple of weeks, so be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. If you use the YouTube app, be sure to click that little bell and stay up to date on all of my new uploads so that you can stay up to date on all of the news that's coming out of E3. And of course, as for right now, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for watching this particular video. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.